Yellow. Just imagine a mother watching son come home every day, depressed because he hates himself for things he himself had never done. He is blamed for a group of people, blamed regardless of being an individual who truly never descended to the tier of evil proclaimed possessed by all. It's a broad brush, isn't it? When most of us are good people who contribute to society. Now, this is very common, regardless of race and ethnicity, and the result is a generation of men who feel emotionally disenfranchised from doing everything. They don't have the emotional leverage, the emotional incentive to push forward into the chaos, into the darkness, and do. They don't reach an emotional maturity. And in general, it's very difficult to reach an emotional maturity when you're traumatized and told to be horrible. You're told you're horrible and worthless. You're told you're trash over and over again. This is something that happens to both men and women to some extent, mostly because we humans have a tendency of grouping others based upon arbitrary factors which are influenced by geography. And we do it. We blame the whole based upon the outliers because of our own negativity bias, our own fear. In essence, we humans do it because we are cowards, or because we want power in a situation, power over another human being. But what is the cost of this? You have so much emotional trauma that you can never be vulnerable and connect genuinely with others. Relationships become so very difficult to maintain. A hookup culture comes into fruition instead. Both to compensate for the void, but also to distance oneself because we're afraid others will see our true selves, see how dark we feel we are, even though we never descended to that evil. Even then, with how easily we are triggered. Carrying all this programming, this baggage, to have emotional stability is so very difficult. To be calm and considerate, vulnerable, having faith in your own strength. To be a powerful individual, calm, confident, strong, with the intention to do good. It's so hard. Only the weak are evil. The strong are good. But to be calm and considerate, vulnerable, having faith in your own strength. It's as if having strength in and of itself is toxic. To be a powerful human being capable of genuinely serving, bonding, connecting with others. How do you do that when you're traumatized from a young age to grow up hating yourself? How are you to be a valuable contributor to this society, to give back to the people of this world, if you're blamed for all the things you've never done? Where do you form the emotional leverage? If the brain is fueled by motivation, where do you find it if all you do is hate yourself? Emotionally unavailable and unable to handle personal responsibility. You can't even orient yourself to form a meaningful goal because the place from which you form these goals is so contaminated. What can we do then? What is the answer if life is pounding you, telling you in every direction that you are the problem? Where do we even start? You first start to realize that the reason why we do this is because we are still animals evolving. We are still developing ourselves. We save mental bandwidth by grouping everyone and everything together. When you understand this though, you realize a freedom in that humans are just mentally lazy. Thus, their opinion of you is lazy. If it is a lazy opinion, then should you allow it to define you? Should you allow it to dictate who you are and should be? To do so would be an act of mental laziness yourself. Ultimately, you are always the one who decides you. Even when you are told, it is you who accepts that reality. Thus, what is the answer then? Regardless of where you are in life, even if you aren't where you want to be, if you're putting in effort every day, either towards your work or towards uncovering your work, no one has the right to judge you. If they do, through a compare and contrast narrative, when you yourself are working on your own life, when you are trying your best from where you are, if someone judges you despite that, know that that is pain. Them doing that is an indicator of pain. They're in pain, feeling a lack of status. They are in pain, feeling a lack of status. They are compensating for their own sense of lack of status by projecting upon you. Thus, make proclamations to compensate for a status they feel they deserve. They feel they should be entitled to. Ultimately, it stems from a place of lack. Negative energy serves wonders in promotion, hijacking the same negativity bias. But to those who understand, you realize that it should not be allowed to infect your own soul. You are the one who decides how you should feel. Ultimately, that is true. There are exceptions to this. Take someone who has lots of head trauma and now their pituitary gland is damaged. They don't produce the same tier of testosterone, and as a result, there is a correlation between the level of testosterone a man produces and depression. Now that man is chemically depressed, he needs something to help him with that. Ultimately, though, you are the one who decides what you let in, what you allow, and what you allow in shapes how you feel. You have more power than you were ever led on to believe. Thus, if ultimately you are serving humanity one way or another, if you yourself are doing good for yourself and the people you care about, if you're serving the world one way or another, hold your head high with confidence and humility. If you aren't where you want to be, learn from where you are, serve from where you are, and let experience teach you. After all, the way is broad. The way to understanding the top of the mountain, it can start at any point. Any path may brush upon the canvas of your bigger picture. Ultimately, they all lead to the top of the mountain. Thus, learn, grow, as you serve genuinely, wherever you are. Serve yourself and serve others. If you do that honestly to the best of your ability from where you are, only the fool is the one who judges you for doing so, and they do so from pain. For he or she is the one in turmoil. They are compensating for a lack of status in their own lives. It has nothing to do with you unless you let it. You are the one who decides. You are the one with the power in that situation. And your power is the ability to choose whether or not to acknowledge that narrative. If not, the one who tried to pass the hot coal has to continue holding it themselves. Understand that the darkness pushed upon you is not you. Stay in the simple wisdom of the good you solely can do in the moment, the way you can serve from where you are, and from there, raise your head high with confidence and humility, regardless of where you are. For only pain would try to inflict pain upon you. Nothing else, no good or virtue would ever feel incentive to do so. Regardless of if you are a man or woman, you are the one who defines yourself ultimately. Don't let yourself come home broken because of a broken world. Don't let yourself be trapped in a past that no longer serves you. Otherwise, you will stay there until you can face it. You will be trapped in that past unless you can face it, with the tragedy being some go their whole lives unable to do so, and it's so hard. It's even harder now than ever with the increasing stimulation available as well. It's just so much harder to maintain the attention span, to be present in front of that darkness. It's so much harder now, constantly being stimulated every which direction. But that is not you. The pain is not you. It's the mud lathered over the light that is. Stirring it only darkens your pond. Let it settle. Let your vision become clear. Realize that if your intentions are to serve honestly both yourself and others, your intentions, regardless of where you are, ultimately, if they are good, from there, no one has true ground to tread upon yours. The ground of your soul is yours. You dictate how you should feel, even if a degree of darkness is always necessary in whatever you do. This is unescapable. There is no utopia in any facet of the human condition. Even if a degree of darkness is always necessary, only a negativity bias would exacerbate it in order to deter the ultimate good you aim for. Or maybe they have an ulterior agenda. Maybe it's about power. Ultimately, though, if your aim is ultimately good, no one can tread your ground unless you let them. With that now being put in place, to the one who tries their best, the projections of others from there should become meaningless. You have gained firmer ground to stand higher than any of their projections could ever reach. That is the secret. If you seek to serve yourself and to serve others genuinely, regardless of where you are, no words can ever touch you unless you let them. With that, the world that tried to change you will in turn be the one that changes. Like the lighting of a match, you found that you were bigger than the darkness they tried to place upon you. Serve yourself. Serve others. If you do, no one can touch you. Thank you all for watching. And until next time, peace.